Um, so let's recall a motivating example called fetal electrocardiogram. That is about your baby's health. Okay, if you remember what we discussed before about fetal electrocardiogram, was about transabdominal maternal ECG. And what is it done was you put an ECG electrocardiogram lead on a pregnant woman's abdomen and you record the signal, the ECG signal. And what you can see is there are some big spikes and some small spikes. And those small spikes are actually the fetal ECG. So, you see, those big spikes are associated with maternal heartbeats. And those small spikes are associated with fetal heartbeats. Now the question is what? The question is, would it be possible that we get fetal ECG information from the transabdominal maternal ECG? And if you remember before when we discussed the D-shape algorithm, then we discussed several challenges of this kind of signals. For example, for this transabdominal maternal ECG, the goal is to extract the fetal ECG so that we can study fetal electrophysiological information or to obtain fetal heart rate for heart rate variability analysis. And usually this is understood as the single channel blind source separation. Suppose you have only one channel and it is composed of two signals. One is maternal ECG, one is fetal ECG. Would it be possible to decompose them? And if you remember in the D-shape algorithm we discussed before, we had an algorithm to estimate the heart rate, fetal heart rate. But if we want to do heart rate variability analysis or to get more information, we need manifold learning algorithm that we'll introduce maybe next week. Okay, but no matter what, to achieve single channel blind source separation, we need to do something. But this kind of signal is actually very challenging. It contains several challenges. For example, if you only have one or two channels, usually you cannot apply the traditional independent component analysis, and the signal usually is spiky, so that you have broad spectrum, so that the traditional bandpass filter may not be suitable. You have noise and artifacts, which may be non-stationary, frequency, amplitude, and oscillatory patterns all change from time to time. How to achieve this kind of signal decomposition or single channel blind separation decomposition, that is our challenge. And this D-shape algorithm, you can review it and find it online. And we will not go through this D-shape algorithm again. Instead, I will tell you another idea or another approach that depends on number theory. And the analysis is directly on the time domain. Well, actually, technically not time domain. It combines frequency domain and time domain techniques, and which is called Ramanujan D-shape. And this is the reference. And the algorithm will help us ultimately to get maternal heart rate and fetal heart rate. Once we get maternal heart rate and the fetal heart rate, we can continue with these manifold learning algorithms and so on, or you can combine the previously discussed D-shape algorithm and Ramanujan D-shape to achieve a better result. So there will be several combinations, but we will maybe discuss how to do this kind of combination in the future when we focus only on fetal ECG, because right now we are talking about algorithms. So the very basic idea is actually an idea called periodic transform or periodicity transform, which was introduced in 1999. I remember it is earlier, but anyways, it was introduced before 2000. The basic idea is what? We want to decompose the signal, right, into its constitutions. There are two signals. The summation is this one, and how to decompose them. And suppose each oscillation has a fixed period. Suppose, that's very important assumption for now. Very, very strong, important assumption for now. Suppose each oscillation has a fixed period. This is very, very important and strong assumption. We need it for now, and we will remove this assumption in a bit so that we know how to use it. Okay, and how to do it? The intuition from linear algebra is, okay, how about if we are able to find a basis composed of all possible periods, right? We can view a signal as a vector in very high dimensional space, right? And it's a Euclidean space. So suppose we can find a basis so that the basis composed of all possible periods, then maybe we can achieve a good decomposition, right? By determining all the coefficients is related to the basis. And then we decompose the signal. Very simple idea. Okay, suppose we are able to achieve, okay, a basis, and this basis will contain what? For example, this one, you have period 1, okay? And this signal, this vector, has period 2. So every 2 samples, you will have 1. Two samples, you have 1. And this is period 19. Every 19 samples, you have 1, and all the others are 0, and then all 0, and 38, you have 1, etc. Suppose that is what you want, you collect. Will this be a basis? Okay, well, how to analyze it? Doesn't look like a basis, right? And even if it is a basis, it looks very bad. Correct. It is not the right way to construct a basis. And the correct way, or a better way, I shouldn't say correct, I should say a better way to construct such a basis is via the Ramanujan sum. And actually this is proposed by a professor from Caltech, which it's hard to pronounce, Vaidyanathan. Okay, but we just call it PPV. Back in 2014. So what he did was, okay, first you recall the Ramanujan sum, and the piece Ramanujan sum is defined in this way, which is a trigonometric sum. But when you do the trigonometric sum, you only focus on those k such that it is confined to p. Okay, and you can have all possible p, all positive integer p, and all integer n. So that is what you have. And what we consider is this BP, this matrix. What you do is you take p, you fix p, and then you take Ramanujan sum Cp, and you construct Cp0, Cp1, Cp2, etc. to Cp p minus 1, and then you just cyclically rotate it, cyclically cycle it. And you will see that this is actually a symmetric matrix. And what you can prove, and actually it is proved in that paper back in 2014, is that this matrix BP, its rank is actually the Euler-Totian function, which you can precisely write down. And any phi p consecutive columns, okay, you have phi p, which is an integer, that consecutive columns of this BP matrix are linearly independent. And then, for every v in the column space of this BP matrix, it's actually exactly p-periodic. Exactly p-periodic, and you cannot be smaller. Smaller of what? Smaller p has a smaller period. So the period is always p. Okay, so that is kind of a way you can get something linearly independent. So what you do is the following. Suppose we have a signal, and the signal is of length n. Then we want to capture signals of length or period p. So we truncate the signal of length n into that many n divided by p blocks with the remaining part. And for each block, we just put this matrix, and this is a submatrix. You just take the VP columns, okay? The first VP columns of VP. And by the previous theorem, these VP columns will be linearly independent. So if you put everything together, what you do is you build up a capital N, okay, by VP size matrix. This one is kind of capture all possible P periodic functions. That is called P Ramanujan subspace. Okay, and you can see that all these are linearly independent. And the theorem, again by PPV back in 2014, it says that if I give you two periods, P and the Q, then they are asymptotically orthogonal when P and Q are different. And certainly asymptotically means when capital N goes to infinite. And they are asymptotically orthogonal in this sense, can be written in this sense. That is, by doing this construction, we can capture all possible P periodic components in a signal of length N. So that is kind of the basis we are looking after. Okay, so now you just put everything, P1, P2, up to Pn. Okay, and all these P are divisors of P with 1 and so on. And you build up this Fn. The theorem says that, oh, very good. The rank of this big matrix Fn is actually capital N. Capital N. So when we fix a maximal period of interest called P max, okay, P max, that is the length of the period we have interest. Suppose we fix it, which is obviously shorter than capital N, that is the length of the signal. Because if the signal you capture, you record only has a length capital N, then you don't expect that you can capture the period longer than capital N, right? Because you even don't finish an observation of one cycle. How can you expect to get it, right? So you don't. So P max is always smaller than P, and you have CPIN and the CPJN, where Pi, Pj are less than P max. They are orthonormal when N goes to infinite. So then you can fit data by this basis. That's what we want. That is the way you construct a basis. Okay, so the algorithm is what? The algorithm is we have this oscillatory signal which looks nasty. So what we do is we build up this B matrix, okay? And this B matrix comes from some normalization. Okay, you have some penalty terms, DII, and you have D minus A, and so you get B, and you have B, which is a basis, but this is penalized basis, and multiplied by X. Okay, and the X is really the capital Phi of P max, that kind of dimension, and you fit the data Y by Bx, and then you try to make X to be smaller, sparse to be sparse using L1. And so this is the periodic information. And the output gives you the information you have interest. So that is kind of the algorithm called Ramanujan periodicity transfer. But unfortunately, it doesn't really work if you apply it to the fetal ECG. This background is, anyways, but you can still read it, right? So this is the fetal ECG signal, and from this fetal ECG signal, if you just apply Ramanujan periodic transform, this is the result you get. You can have different parameters, different weight, different penalty terms, and so on. Then you get, well, it's almost impossible to interpret what do we get. And why? Why? The main reason is because the signal has time-varying frequency. And if you remember in the very beginning of the lecture, I said we have a very strong assumption that is the period should be fixed. If the period is not fixed, then sorry, periodicity transform cannot be applied because we need it to be to have a fixed period, but we don't in this real world signal. So what can we do? We still want to apply it, otherwise we will not discuss it, right? And moreover, you also see that amplitude also changes from time to time. So it is kind of challenging to really say or see what's going on. So what we proposed in this algorithm, we apply Ramanujan periodicity transform to real-world data. What we consider is actually in the frequency domain. It's a time domain technique, but we apply it in the frequency domain in the following sense. Remember this signal, this example, which I used in the D-shape algorithm lecture. This has a frequency 2 Hz, but its oscillatory pattern is not sinusoidal. So the short-time Fourier transform will give you 2 Hz, 4 Hz, 6 Hz, 8 Hz, and so on. And what we know is, if you fix a time in the frequency domain, you will get another periodicity. And this periodicity actually captures the morphology of the oscillation. That is the wave shape function. So the key is, even if the period is not fixed in a time domain, in the spectral domain, the period is fixed. Why? Because in the frequency domain, we only see Fourier series. We only see Fourier series. And Fourier series, when we define it, it has fixed period, right? So we should apply the Ramanujan periodicity transform in the frequency axis. So we call the algorithm Ramanujan D-shape in the very end. And this is the result. You have the fetal transabdominal maternal ECG, and you have its short-time Fourier transform, which looks very nasty. At each time, fix a time, you take the frequency domain, and you view the frequency domain as a periodic signal, and you apply Ramanujan periodicity transform in the frequency domain signal. And then, at each time, you plot the resulting fitting. And then you concatenate all the fitting at each time, and this is the plot you get. And the interesting thing is, with different lambda or different penalty terms, actually, sometimes you can suppress the fetal part or suppress the maternal part, which actually is a control of the energy. But how to use it in a robust way, it is still not so clear. Sometimes we can do it, sometimes we cannot. So that is something we need to explore. But the good news is, by applying Ramanujan periodicity transform to the fetal ECG short-time Fourier transform, you can actually get the desired instantaneous frequencies or instantaneous heart rate of both mothers and the fetus, so that you can continue to do the analysis. And the final part in this paper is a sequence of theorems, theorems 1, 2, 3. And the theorems says the following. Actually, when n is sufficiently large and the signal is not too weak, that is, the signal to noise ratio is sufficiently strong, then actually Ramanujan periodicity transform is robust to noise. Which kind of noise? For example, jittery. You have frequency, small frequency changes. The period will have small changes. Okay, but it is jittery, not really time varying frequency. It's jittery. Okay. Second, amplitude modulation. Small amplitude modulation. Or third, small noise. Actually, Ramanujan D-shape or Ramanujan periodicity transform is robust to these types of errors or deviations from fixed period with fixed amplitude. Okay, and you can find actually more literatures if you are interested in this topic. For example, PVV has studied this topic for a long, long time. He has a lot of literatures and developments in this direction, even in higher dimensional space and so on. And we focus on applying the tools he developed and combine it with some harmonic analysis tools to do signal processing, in particular biomedical signal processing. And its applications to real world data we need to spend more time on it. Okay, so I think that is it for this lecture.